What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a great one. We got the famous Live Bullet album from Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, brought to us by our friend, longtime supporter of the channel, Trucker Kev. Thank you so much for all your support over the years, brother. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you bringing this album to us. If you'd like to support us in any way like Trucker Kev does, check out the Patreon link below. The patrons truly do make this possible. We put up videos every single day. I don't know this album. I've come across it. We've listened to a couple of songs off here in live streams. Give that a follow. The Twitch link is below. I also came in on one of our song reactions that we did that's up on the channel, but never listened to the whole album. Always wanted to. Love me some Bob Seger. I know it's one of the most well-acclaimed live albums of all time. Kev actually shared some stuff about it. We always like to know what the patron thinks because he knows more about it, a lot more about it than I do. He chose it for a reason. And Kev actually said this is his all-time #3 live album. And Kev knows a lot about music, so that's high praise. And Kev gives us a little background on it. He says about Seger, after banging around Michigan for many, many years and getting very popular in the Midwest only, but making no money, basically his last album released in 1975 was Beautiful Loser. He slowly started to get some radio play with songs like Catmandu and the Beautiful Loser title track. So he mounted a very strong tour. This would basically be known as Bob's last stand. It was either going to happen or he's going to have to do something else because he'd given it almost 10 years of his life. And this didn't work. That was going to be it. So all of a sudden, out of one of his albums back in '72 came a classic cut, Turn the Page Live, that radio grabbed a hold of and really grabbed onto still to this day, almost 46 years later. A Segway song, basically Traveling Man and a Beautiful Loser, also got heavy FM play even to this day. The album started climbing up the charts when Rolling Stone's Dave Marsh said it's one of the best live albums ever. The reviews were nothing but strong, the sales were great, the reception was fantastic, and Bob finally made the big time. However, Bob did have some issues because Kev says that the camps kind of divided. Michigan and Detroit felt like Bob belonged to them, and they kind of felt like he sold out whenever he became big, which is not the case. What do you want the guy to do? He kicked around for years, but got the lucrative contract from Capitol, went out to L.A. And Muscle Shoals to his recording of Night Moves, which basically burst him into the big time everywhere. Kev says this album is nothing but phenomenal. Actually makes you feel like you were there live. It's one of his all-time favorites. Makes you feel like you're there in 1975 in the Pat Cobo Hall in Detroit. Kev also says, and I'll get into this in a minute, but just a few notes. There's 2 cover songs. One's the opening, Nutbush City Limits, which we're going to talk about in just a second, from Tina Turner, which basically sets the whole feel and vibe right away to me. There's also a great Van Morrison cover called I've Been Working. Also, you can see what an impact the late Thomas Cartmel, also known as Alto Reed, which is how I'll mention him in here, who died just before Christmas last year in 2020 of cancer, really made. In the live show, Bob has spoken fondly about what Alto did for the band. So the only stuff I found is it's now onto my research. Not a lot of it. Live Bullet was released in April of '76. As Kev said, it was recorded in Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan during the heyday of that arena's time as an important rock concert venue. It's credited along with Night Moves as launching Bob's mainstream popularity. And in 2015, Live Bullet was ranked number 26 on Rolling Stone's 50 Greatest Live Albums of All Time list. That seems awfully low, but it's just one magazine's list. In that article about that, Bob stated, we were doing 250 to 300 shows a year before Live Bullet. We're playing 5 nights a week, sometimes 6 as the Silver Bullet Band. And we just had that show down. That's what that repetition, that's sometimes what we miss nowadays. These bands had to grind it out, right? Live show after live show, year after year. And I mean, they were just a finely tuned machine when you went and saw them. So all that to say, let's jump into this album. All tracks are written by Bob except for the couple covers. I'll mention what those are when we come up to them. Also, there won't be any music in the live reaction, but please go check out the link below to Vimeo. That's where this whole thing is going to be. It's a live album, man. You got to go listen to it with me. We're going to kick it off. You see it below with Nutbush City Limits, originally from the Beautiful Loser album right then, just in 1975. It's the Tina Turner song. Kev mentioned it. It's a semi-autobiographical song written by Tina, which commemorates her rural hometown of Nutbush in Haywood County, Tennessee. Originally released as a single in 1973. It's one of the last hits that husband-wife R&B duo Ike and Tina Turner released together. Interesting for them to start out the album and their shows with this song being a cover, but we're really looking forward to it. Thanks again, Kev. Let's check this out. So I'll stop it there because he's going to announce what he's doing next, and we're going to let these next 2 songs play together. I don't really have anything to break down the lyrics for this. Tina wrote about her hometown. Just basically a small town, letting you know the things that go on there, and that it was pretty cool. When Bob stops and talks about what Rolling Stone magazine wrote about Detroit having the greatest fans ever, and he's known that for 10 years, and just the pop, you can just feel the energy, and you can feel just the energy in the band and in Bob's voice, man. Love his voice, distinct voice, you know who it is right away, great energy. So loved that one. And now as Bob is about to tell us, we're going to go into Traveling Man, also just off that previous album he just done, Beautiful Loser, in 1975. And we're going to play that and the song after, the title track, Beautiful Loser, together. Kev said that's the way to do it, so that's how we're going to do it. So I don't really have anything on Traveling Man. We'll talk about Beautiful Loser for a minute. The single, when it was released, just missed the top 100. It's hard in those days, man, to break the Hot 100. But it became more widely known when it was included on this album, when it was paired with Traveling Man in the way that we're going to listen to it. Songs about people who set their goals so low that they never achieve anything. Seger got the idea for the song from Beautiful Losers, a novel written by Leonard Cohen. Got a lot of Cohen up on the channel. Contrary to what many believe, the song is not about Seger himself. He said that several times. It took over a year to finish the Beautiful Loser song, and Seger wrote 3 or 4 versions of the song before settling on the one that worked. So we're going to listen to that, but first up is Traveling Man, and I'm just going to let it run. I'm not going to cut off any songs after they're over with and he's talking. Let's get this whole live experience. Didn't know if he was going to say anything to intro the next song, so I let it run there. What a great double shot there. We'll handle Traveling Man first. He's a traveling man. Women have come, women have gone. Everyone trying to cage me. Some were sweet. Some were so sweet I barely got free. Others, they only enraged me. Sometimes at night I see their faces. I feel the traces they've left on my soul. Those are the memories that made me a wealthy soul. I'll tell you, those are the memories that made me a wealthy soul. Let me get in the chorus. Traveling man, love when I can. Turn loose my hand because I'm going. Traveling man, love when I can. But sooner or later I'm going on. Traveling man. So he just kind of delves that out in the song. Excellent instrumentation on the song. Fantastic guitar work. I talked about it when it was going on, but Drew Abbott, and I'm sure Bob's in there laying it down as well. Charlie Allen Martin on the drums. And then we get into Beautiful Loser. Man, to segue so nicely. Beautiful Loser is a fantastic song. As I said, Bob said it wasn't about him. It's about a beautiful loser when you break down the lyrics. He wants to dream like a young man with the wisdom of an old man. He wants his home and security. He wants to live like a sailor at sea. Beautiful loser, where are you going to fall when you realize you just don't need it all? And I like this. He's your oldest and your best friend. If you need him, he'll be there again. He's always willing to be second best. A perfect lodger, a perfect guest. And he just goes on about that. He'll never make any enemies. No, he won't complain if he's caught in a freeze. He'll always ask. He'll always say please. So just putting this guy out as being a guy who just, doesn't have any really ambition or any backbone or spine to step up. So really good song there. We actually had first organ work on this one by Robin Robbins, who also plays the clavinet, the mellotron, and then the piano and a little bit on the classic Kathmandu that we'll get into then. But man, love the energy. Definitely the way to do that one in a little double shot. Now we're going to finish out the first side. Because back in the day, guys, remember this is vinyl, so there's 4 sides. We're going to finish out the first side with Jody Girl, which was once again just off this Beautiful Loser album in 1975. After the cover, the Tina Turner cover that opened, the next 3 songs were off Beautiful Loser. Let's check it out. Jody Girl. We dial it way back on this one instrumentation-wise. The instrumentation was perfect, but what a great story, and that's something I haven't mentioned yet. Bob is a fantastic songwriter. I don't think it gets brought up enough when people talk about him, but this song is basically about Jody Girl. There's no chorus in it. He does mention Jody. He starts off the first and third verse. There's 3 verses with Jody Girl, Jody Girl. It's the story that so many people live out, right? She ends up marrying her high school sweetheart. Everything is great at the time. The honeymoon was great. But then you get into the mundane of life in verse 2. He's at work. The kids are at school. She's watching a soap opera. And she doesn't feel so free anymore. She's thinking back to those wild, wild days in high school and how great that was. And most people go through this, right, where they wake up at some point and they're in middle age, whatever you define that as, and they go, man, my life is boring. What happened to all those exciting thoughts I had when I was younger and free and could do whatever I want, and the world was at my feet? So just a really, really good song that I had never heard of before. And now we're going to go to side 2 of the actual album, I've Been Working. This is the Van Morrison one. From the Back in 72 album for Bob, which was from 1973, which is probably confusing at the time, right? But on the Van Morrison side of it, it appeared on Van's album His Band and the Street Choir, which was released in 1970. The song was first an outtake from Van's well-received album Astral Weeks in 1968. Other versions of this song were recorded for Van's next album after Astral Weeks, of course, Moondance. Both those albums are very, very famous. 3 of those versions were released on the 2013 deluxe edition of Moondance. I can be very hot and cold on Van the man. I recognize him for what a great artist he is, but I'm going to have a feeling I'm going to like Bob doing his song maybe a little more than I'd like Van. Let's check it out. I've been working. He changed up the lyrics just a little bit from Van's on some of the parts. There's a part where he want to come home and make love to his woman. He kind of changed that up a little bit, maybe for the concert crowd. But, you're not going to stay totally true to the original lyrics of any song. What a performance. I mentioned it during the reaction, but in case for some reason you weren't watching along with the song, the whole band really contributed to this one, maybe the most they have so far. I mean, you had great bass work by Chris Campbell. I haven't mentioned him. Robin on the keys, obviously Charlie's fantastic drumming, and then Drew and Bob on the guitar. Just all of it worked together. It's just a jam session, man. Not a lot of lyrics to it. Really enjoyed that one. And now we're up to the iconic, you see it below, Turn the Page. It's from that album back in 72 that was released in 1973. Released as a single in 73, but never charted because, as we already established, Bob wasn't over anywhere but basically in Detroit at that time. This version is the one that became, as Kev mentioned earlier, a mainstay of the album-oriented rock stations. It's about the emotional and social ups and downs of a rock musician's life on the road. Seger wrote it in 1972 while touring with Teagarden and Van Winkle, and the road manager at the time, Tom Weschler, remembers what kind of caused this. He said, "Turn the Page, Bob's great road song, came along in 1972 while we were driving home from a gig. I think we're in Dubuque, Iowa in the winter and stopped at a restaurant. We stood out when we entered a store or gas station or a restaurant en masse. At this restaurant, it was particularly bright inside, so there weren't any dark corners to hide in because they had long hair and everything. All these local guys are looking at us like, what are these guys? Is that a man or a woman?" Just like in the song. That was one incident, but there were so many others on the road that led Bob to write this song. And then both of these versions, the studio and the live version that obviously we're doing here, feature a mellotron and a sax part played by founding Silver Bullet member Alto Reed. Tom Weschler allegedly helped inspire Reed to create the opening melody. During recording, Weschler told Reed, "Alto, think about it like this. You're in New York City on the Bowery. It's 3 a.m. You're under a street lamp. There's a light mist coming down. You're all by yourself. Show me what that sounds like." And with that, Alto played the opening melody to Turn the Page. What a great story. Let's check this out. What a fantastic song. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but you would never know this is a live album besides the interaction and the crowd noise, but they sound phenomenal. Every one of them, from Bob to every instrumentalist, they sound phenomenal. And this song and Alto's saxophone on here is such a famous thing and just pulls you right in. He talked about in the quote that he gave to Rolling Stone that I read at the start that Bob Seger gave about this album, saying how they were playing 250 to 300 shows a year. You can feel it in how polished they are and how good they sound, but also that's what this song is about. But he wrote it clear back in 1972, and I mean, he hadn't come near to this kind of fame, and this is another 3 years of traveling around, and that's what it's about, man. It sounds like the rock star life is this glamorous thing, but he's letting you know it's really not. And the opening line, "On a long and lonesome highway east of Omaha," which would play in the Dubuque, Iowa thing, that's where they were when this incident in verse 2 takes place that I described at the start. Omaha is my hometown. Lived there till I was 13. Very familiar with the area all around there. Talking about when you're riding 16 hours and there's nothing much to do. You don't feel much like riding. You just wish the trip was through. Say, here I am on the road again. There I am up on the stage. Here I go playing star again. There I go, turn the page. So I get up on there. I do my thing like he's doing in this concert. Then I got to get back on that bus, go again, and it's just rinse and repeat. And it's a very, very difficult life to be out there on the road. Interesting that Trucker Kev brings this to me. Being an over-the-road truck driver, as my dad was for 35 years, Kev knows this life very well. Verse 3, out there in the spotlight, you're a million miles away. Every ounce of energy you try to give away as the sweat pours out your body like the music that you play. Later in the evening, as you lie awake in bed with the echoes from the amplifiers ringing in your head, you smoke the day's last cigarette, remembering what she said, and then he just goes out with that long chorus. The saxophone comes in. Just a fantastic timeless song, which is going to bring us to our first track off the 7 album in 1974. We got UMC, Upper Middle Class. UMC, great writing on that one, right? The instrumentation was fantastic. Everybody's getting to shine a little bit on this one, but the lyrics themselves, you're told, I was told, it could be part of the upper middle class. Never made it there, and you know what? That's fine. But he breaks everything down. And remember, he wrote this way back in the 70s, in 74. Probably wrote it in 73. It still all holds true today. He's like, I want to be a lawyer, doctor, professor, a member of the UMC. He wants an air conditioner cottage on the river and all the money he can see. Wants to drive a Lincoln, spend my evenings drinking the very best Burgundy. Wants a yacht for sailing. I like this one. Private eye for tailing my wife if she's a bit too free. Been told ever since he was a boy to be part of the UMC, and then he wants some stock in GM and GE, which would have played great in the Detroit concert there. An office in the city. He's got a secretary so pretty. Paid vacation. And if there's a war or famine, promise I'll examine the details if they're on TV. So he's not going to help out. He's going to check it out. This little verse is great. I'll pretend to be liberal, but still support the GOP as part of the UMC. Just really enjoyed that one. It is a fun song. Now we're going to go into the last song on side 2. We have the Bo Diddley medley, which is a medley of the song Bo Diddley and Who Do You Love? The song Bo Diddley, it actually came off the Smokin' OP's 1972 album by Bob. The original song is, of course, written by Bo Diddley way back in 1955. Lyrics are based on the traditional lullaby titled Hush Little Baby, and it prominently features the Bo Diddley beat that the singer made famous. Buddy Holly actually recorded that song as well. Let's check this little jam out. It's 5 minutes, 38 seconds. Bo Diddley medley. This is the song, this is the part in the concert, right, where you let some other people get to shine. So Charlie Allen Martin, fantastic drum solo on here. They let him go. Chris Campbell kind of busted in off of that and put some really great bass work. Robin's in there with the organ, altos busting. I mean, Bob and Drew on the guitars are fantastic on every single song. So is everyone else, but these guys were able to come to the forefront on this song, this little jam in here. You're probably about halfway through the concert, so that's the time to do it. The lyrics themselves, not just, cool little song, man. I like verse 2. I walked 47 miles of barbed wire, used a cobra snake for a necktie, got a brand new house on the roadside, child, made out of rattlesnake hide, brand new chimney on top, made out of human skulls. Come and take a little walk with me, Arlene. Tell me, who do you love? Who do you love? Just a little flex there. I liked that verse a lot. Now we're going to head over to the third side if we were on vinyl. We got one of the shortest songs on here, Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. Written and performed by Bob when he's part of the Bob Seger System. Originally released as a single way back in 1968, and then it was on the album of the same name in 1969. Actually hit the national charts at number 17, but it's just hard to stay around. There's so much competition back then. It's 1969. Bob been around a long time when you think about that. And also Glenn Frey was on this, playing acoustic guitar and sang backup vocals. Of course, one of the Eagles founders. You might know this song because it was played in the 2019 Quentin Tarantino movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was played when Brad Pitt, who plays Cliff Booth, was driving in his car. Whole band firing on all cylinders on this song. Just a fantastic instrumentation song. What a jam. I mean, I'm telling you, Drew's guitar work on here with Bob was fantastic. The drumming, all of it, man. It was just fantastic. The song itself, just a fun little song, man. He's a rambling, gambling man, and in that, it kind of plays that out through the lyrics. He was just 13 when he had to leave home. Knew I couldn't stick around. I had to roam. Ain't good looking, but I ain't shy. Ain't afraid to look you, girl, hey, in the eye. So if you need some love and you need it right away, take a little time out and maybe I'll stay. So I love that way. Not good looking, man, but you know what? I'm not shy, man. I'll talk to those girls, so sooner or later it's going to work out for me. But I got to ramble. Rambling, man. Gamble, man. Those nice little harmonies and call and response were fantastic on that one. Now we're going to get to another 2 songs I'm going to let play together at Kev's suggestion. So you've got, it's going to be a little 15-minute jam, man. First up, we got Heavy Music, as you see below. First release is a single by Bob Seger and The Last Herd. It's 2 different vocal takes of the song using the same instrumental track released together on either side of the single with the names Heavy Music Part 1 and Heavy Music Part 2. I just thought that was an interesting way to go about that back in the day. The song's about listening to music and the emotions it evokes. but misunderstandings arose. Seger denied those took a sexual reading of the lyric. He said a lot of people really misconstrued it. That was a song about the music, but a lot of people thought it was a song about music and sex, the two together. There was nothing sexual in it. It was simply read in by a lot of program directors, the part about going deeper. The single proved to be his most successful work to date, climbing to the #1 position on the Detroit charts and gaining him some exposure outside of the Detroit area. For a time, it looked like it would be Seger's ticket to a national breakthrough until the label Cameo Parkway that he signed with went out of business just as the song was gaining popularity, man. Golly. The track ended up peaking at number 103 nationally in the U.S. on Billboard. It was actually a bigger hit in Canada, peaking at number 82. Still, the success of heavy music aided in landing Seger his first contract with Capitol Records. That's going to go right into Kathmandu off the Beautiful Loser album in 1975. The song was later featured on this album, of course. The single edit reached number 43 on the U.S. Top 40, becoming his most successful single since, Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. The song refers to the city Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, although there was no evidence Seger actually ever went there. After the Nepali earthquake of 2015, Seger said his heart went out to the city. He described the album Beautiful Loser this is on as a concept album, which, by the way, that album that was his first of 10 consecutive platinum albums. Seger said it's basically life on the road and my concept of what a winner or a loser is in life as opposed to just the music business. Some of the songs talk about how we maintain our sanity. Some of the songs are darker about the loneliness. This song, Kathmandu, is the place the journey would end if he could do it. All right, they're going to play together about a 15-minute jam. Let's do this. Had to get Bob back out there for the encore. We still got 3 more songs left. That's side 4, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Well, let's talk about these. Wow, man, what a 15-minute jam. Let's start out with heavy music, right? It was exactly what it needed to be, man. It was just heavy music. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had a chance to shine on this song, which is the way it should be. And, you know, he's talking about the heavy music. I get it, man. I could see where, you know, I even like the part, don't you ever feel like going and saying when the drummer begins to pound and then Charlie pounds those drums and ain't there a time in your little lives you couldn't believe what the band's putting down, heavy music, oh yeah. And then he talks to everybody, tells them there's a 16-track machine. If they'll start beating loud, they may just end up on an album. So they start singing with the band. You know, he goes the little call and response. They start singing the heavy music. They're pretty loud, but not really loud. But they get really loud later on. And then he's talking to everybody, talking when you got a little headache powder, it'll see you through. When you got a headache and when you got a backache, go down to John R. and Brush and massage parlor will take care of you. So I can see where people might have thought that was a little sexual reference in there with the massage parlor. Then he's talking about when you got a heartache late at night, ain't a thing to do. Charlie knows there ain't nothing you can do. Calling out to his drummer, Charlie, and Charlie goes a little call and response, singing back and forth. So that was cool. You don't see that very often, getting the drummer involved in an actual call and response. And man, he just gets after it, man. And the crowd starts really, really getting loud. Such a fun song. It goes right into Kathmandu. You know, you got the piano on here. Robin playing the piano on this one. Got the guitar solo, the sax solo, and just so much energy from Bob saying how he enjoys all these other places, but man, he's going to Kathmandu. And then we play it off. He says, good night, everybody. Then the PA guy comes on and starts urging everybody, and that gets us to side 4 because he's back out for the encore. And we'll start off that side 4 with Looking Back. It's written by Bob, obviously. Original release as a non-album single in 1971. It was a criticism of political conservatism. Single was a moderate success, reached 96 in the U.S. and 2 on the Detroit charts. In a 1975 radio interview, Bob said, looking back is a strange record. At that time, there was a lot of political upheaval happening in the area. I felt it in 2+2, and I felt it in Looking Back, another song of his. And Looking Back was basically written about all the people who wanted to retain the conservative ideas as opposed to trying anything liberal or new. Plus, it had a double meaning about the band, too, and the music that had gone down. Let's check this out. Looking Back, Robin really hitting the organ on this one. Just a nice, quick jam, man. 2 minutes, 36 seconds. Very quick on this album. You know, you hit the streets, you feel them staring. You know they hate you. You can feel their eyes are glaring because you're different, because you're free, because you're everything deep down they wish they could be. You're looking back, they're looking back. Some really fire lyrics. And they watch the news, see young men dying. That's Vietnam time, man. Imagine that's what he was talking about back in 71. They watch them bleed in war, listen to them lying. And if they're normal, if they can see, they just reach out and change the channel on TV. Wish they could vote in the war. Oh, there you go. There's too much. They're too busy fitting locks upon the back door, give you a foxhole place to hide, because when the war comes, the cops will be on their side. Okay, so he wrote this in 1971. Obviously, this album was released in 1976, this live version. But wow, how appropriate is this for right now as I sit here recording this in 2021? Just a fire song. Now, our second entry off the album, 7 from 1974, we got Get Out of Denver. Supposedly, this is a fast-talking rockabilly road song and a left-handed compliment to the city of Denver. Been there many times, man. A nice city. I had to let that play, right? We had one more tune. I had to hear them like get it. They went off again and got them back out, and people must have been crazy up front, maybe a little bit too much pushing. And Bob let them know to chill, man. I'll tell you what, that song shows their versatility. That song was so much fun, man. That rockabilly. Bob was in it, man. The organ by Robin, everybody was going, man. You get a rockabilly tune I mentioned during the reaction. You got to lay down the guitar. Drew was hammering that thing, man. Just everybody doing a fantastic job. It's a fun song. He's just telling a story, man. There was his 60 Cadillac. You remember it was an autumn and the moon was shining. His 60 Cadillac was rolling through Nebraska, whining, doing 120, man. The fields were bending over, heading out for the mountains, knowing we was traveling further. So they're going from western Nebraska, which was not a lot out there, into Colorado. Had his girl beside me, brother, she was burning. So then they go up, and up walks a Baptist preaching Southern funky school teacher. She had a line on something heavy, but we couldn't reach her. We told her that we needed something that would get us going. She put out all she had and laid it on the counter showing. All I had to do was lay my money down and pick it up, but the cops came busting in, and then we lit out in a pickup truck and go. Get out of Denver, better go. Sounded a lot like the Johnny Be Good thing, right? Go. So that's the chorus, kind of, and then the red lights were flashing, sirens were screaming. Had to pinch each other just to see if we were dreaming. Made it to Loveland Pass out in Colorado, and then under less than half an hour, Lord, it started drizzling and it turned into a thunder shower. Then they're still driving all through that rain, right? And at the very end, we're staring at a Colorado State policeman trooper captain. He said, "Get out of Denver, better go. Get out of Denver because you look just like a commie and you might just be a member, baby. Get out of Denver, baby. Get out of Denver." And then just a nice little outro. That was a fantastic, fun song. And we're going to end this epic album with Let It Rock. It's a Chuck Berry song. It was on the Smokin' OP's 1972 album of Bob. And this is a medley of course, Let It Rock and Little Queenie with some minor lyrical changes they made to the great Chuck Berry. About 8.5 minutes long. Let's finish this awesome album out. The perfect way to end out an album like this, the Let It Rock. Little Queenie, Little Richard medley, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. Great energy all the way to the end, right? Great instrumentation. I'm a broken record, so to speak, but I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this song, so it was just the perfect way to end it. Now we're going to my favorite tracks, which is, I mean, it's really hard to pick on an album like this. I don't know that I have favorite tracks. I mean, the heavy music into Catmandu is tough to beat. But I mean, so is Traveling Man and A Beautiful Loser. And then Jody Girl was such a different kind of song. And then, of course, I knew Turn the Page, which is just iconic. I mean, it's really hard to pick. Looking back, Get Out of Denver with the rockabilly. I'm not picking it. I like them all, man. I really can't pick anything. Now we'll get on to my overall score of this album. Look, we did live at Fillmore East for Kev a long time ago. It's probably almost, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? I don't know. Time goes quickly. That's considered by many to be the greatest live album of all time. I actually like this album more. I like Bob Seger more than I like the Allman Brothers. I understand how great that album is. This album is just fantastic. This is the best live album I've ever heard. I love Bob. The instrumentation, every single member of the Silver Bullet Band is at peak form. I said it halfway through the reaction. You would never know that this was a live album except for the crowd. That's how good they sound. They just sound fantastic. And Kev put it so well in the beginning. You actually feel like you're there, man. You feel like you're a member of that audience. And live albums don't always capture that at all. This is fantastic. For me on first listen, it's an 8.75. I mean, it's the best live album I've ever heard. Appreciate you guys taking this journey. Always appreciate you, Kev, and the stuff that you bring, guys. Until next time, I will see you.